Press it.
Do it.
We are live. It is Value After Hours, 10:30 a.m. on the West Coast, 1:30 p.m. on the East Coast. Joined as always by my co-hosts Jake Taylor and Bill Brewster. What's happening, gentlemen?
Good to be home. I think Bill and I were on the road last week. It's always nice to be home.
True facts. While we were on the road, the 10-year sold off and everything ripped. Why? Because we're all just trading rates anyway.
It does feel like that a little bit.
Too real.
I have this great fundamental idea. Oh, really? What do rates do in that fundamental idea? Oh, I don't know. I didn't model that.
Just break down for me which way the 30 is going. Is it going up or down? Up or down?
That's right.
That's all you need to know. Bill, that might be your best take. You might want to just shut it down now.
Yeah, well, there aren't many good ones, so.
I think that was a finding that either Wes or Meb looked at a few years ago, where for all, I think it feels like Wes actually, for all of the wiggling around that the stock market has done since 1982, greatest bull run ever or something like that, you'd have been better off on a risk-adjusted basis just being long the 30-year.
Kind of want to get long the 30-year here.
Really?
Yeah. I think in order to think that the 30-year goes up in a sustainable manner, like for a long, long time.
When you say goes up, what do you mean? The rate or the?
The yield
rate
rises.
Yeah. Price down.
Correct. Yeah. I think you got to have a more bullish outlook on GDP growth than I have. Now, I think you could have a bad mark to market in the interim, much like the stock market, actually, which is probably why the 60-40 portfolio is getting waxed.
Because it was the same bet, basically.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeesh. Did you guys see in Europe I saw a little tweet about it was the CPI, European CPI versus the, I think, 3-month bank rate, and it was CPI came in at like 8.1%, and the European rate came in at like -0.5%. So you got like real negative, almost 9% yields right now in Europe. Whew.
Yeah.
What do you do there?
What do the economics textbooks say about that?
Yeah. What did Keynes say about that?
No idea. I don't know. They try to solve a supply issue.
You burn the book to stay warm this winter. That's the answer.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. So much going on. I don't know. It's the more complicated the macro picture gets, the more I see the reasons for just ignoring it all and just trying to look micro. But even that's hard. Every single little business you got to get has some macro influence on it. The rates being the main one.
Yeah, what a paradox that, Bill's best comment was about how everything's been a rates bet, and your best comment was that you should ignore all that stuff and focus on the micro, and you're both right somehow.
They're both true. Yeah, they're still both true.
That's what makes this game difficult, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It certainly seems like those long duration names, you're basically just long rates, which makes sense.
The more I do it, the more I think that just nobody knows anything, myself included.
Especially,
I know that I know nothing, but I'm always surprised to learn that other people know nothing too. I kind of like this sell-off at the start of this year. I don't know whether it's the worst ever or something like that, but it doesn't feel nearly as bad as March 2020 did. But I still think it proceeds. I don't really know. I just preface that by saying I don't know, but I still feel like
I don't know, but here's what's going to happen.
I do feel like we're falling out of we've jumped off the top floor and we're like on about floor, 50, saying, oh, this feels okay so far. There's nothing wrong.
I just think that the difference between like March 2020 was faster, but everybody was looking at the same thing. I actually haven't sold off much this year because I got absolutely waxed on the back half of last year.
It's the value trick, sell off first.
Yeah.
I've already sold off.
That's right. I'm
not sell off if you already sold off.
Yeah.
You can't lose if you already lost.
Can't lose again.
Dude, preach.
What's
That said, outperforming on down days. It's not as if like
oh
I've been
yeah.
going
Yeah.
up. That's not the most fun thing in the world.
I've been getting a lot of that going recently. Lots of alpha on down days. It's a 300 basis point down day with 25 basis points of outperformance. Woo!
Yeah.
Crushing it.
Just compound that up. I don't know how much that comes to. I think it's a lot.
That's as good as money, sir.
I heard that Lilu. I might not share that. I might not know. Lilu. I'm a big fan of Lilu's. That's all I can say.
Is anybody not a fan of Lilu? Does anybody like, Lilu doesn't know what he's doing?
That's fair, but in like a forced ranking of all of the investors who are out there, I put Lilu, like he's up there with Buff for me. It's early days, but I'm a fan.
Okay, I like that.
I don't know anything about him.
What rumor were you gonna spread?
What were you gonna spread?
Might have been one of those things that was said that I'm not allowed to repeat. So I don't want to repeat it. But I did a.
Must be nice to be on the inside of the information flow, sir.
I wasn't on the inside.
Give us all a peek, dog.
I got this second or third hand. I did an interview with Everything Money. I saw that a few guys have shouted that out. That was fun chatting with those guys. They're good dudes.
Who's Everything Money?
Honestly, it's not a channel that I was familiar with beforehand, but the Paul, who's one of the gents in there, very kind of deepish value approach, similar to mine. They've got a big audience, 150,000. They said so.
Nice.
Should start
Slightly
following
bigger
them.
than ours.
It is.
That's a shame.
Lilu
Shout
is
out to
great.
the ladies. What's up?
Lady.
Both of them.
No, there's at least 4.
There's 2. There's 4.
They're
I've
multiplying.
spoken with them.
Do we have any actual topics today besides wisdom of macro, where things are going?
Got lots of macro hot takes on the macro.
Oh,
Yeah,
boy.
I'm a pony up on Toby's hot takes. Hot takes and hot cakes.
I have a little something. So,
Yeah. What do you got? JT?
Come on, Jake. Bring us through.
We're doing a little bit of I try not to do just book reports on the show because I feel like that's kind of weak sauce. But this one will be a bit of a book report from The Scout Mindset by Julia Galef. I believe that's how you pronounce her last name. I really enjoyed it. So we can get into that when it's veggies time.
The Scout Mindset.
Scout, correct.
Cool.
Yeah.
Why don't we kick it off with that while I work
It's a
on
good
the topic?
idea.
Okay. Let's get that. So first of all, shout out to my man at Sleepwell Capital who sent me this book and said I needed to read it, and he was 100% right. And after I read it, I thought, God, how did I not read this one yet? This is like so in my wheelhouse. But the basic premise of is that this book is full of just all these very practical countermeasures, thought experiments, framing that you can do to counteract all these known behavioral decision-making biases that we kind of all know. But just because you know it doesn't mean you're actually doing anything to control for it. So I found this to be eminently approachable with great stories around it that kind of help you remember some of the lessons. But just to preface like what this scout mindset means, it's sort of like the scout versus the soldier. And that's the analogy that she uses. And the scout is trying to basically be out there finding new information and updating their map of what reality really looks like. And it's not that you're wrong necessarily about something. It's just that you're updating the map and it's getting a better lay of the land. And it's trying to figure out what risks are worth taking on the board. Whereas the soldier is about defending, protecting, your cherished beliefs. Fortifying what you believe by finding evidence, and when you're wrong about something, that's like defeat for you. It's not that you're updating the map, it's that you lost. And so you tie up identity with it. And so all these different things, you can see how it like stacks up to prey on our worst shortcut or short circuits that we have from a behavioral decision-making perspective. So I wanted it to just do the first thing that was really funny in the book was that she went through and looked at, there were 23 different instances where Spock, who's supposed to be this hyper rational, cold calculating Vulcan, where he made specific predictions and then assigned basically like probabilities and confidence intervals to things as he was talking about it. And so if you go through, like, I think she had 23 different instances that she measured in all the, different iterations of Spock over the years. And so when Spock said something that was absolutely impossible, it happened 83% of the time. When he said it was very unlikely, it was a coin flip. When he said it was just regular unlikely, it was also a coin flip. When he said something was likely, it was 80%. So that's actually not bad. And when he assigned a 99.5% chance of something, it happened 17% of the time. So it turns out that Spock was horribly calibrated when it comes to his predictions versus reality. And his Breyer score would be total shit if you actually went through and calculated it. He's not very accurate. So that was kind of funny. And then the other thing that I got from this was that I think is like a really useful exercise. When we, and really what it does is it taps into humanity's ability to be kind of a comparative animal. A lot of times we do better by reasoning through comparison of A versus B, as opposed to, is A on its own good? Is B on its own good? So she uses the example of like self-driving. And so like, you might say like, well, let's consider the proposition. Will full self-driving be available within a year to the average like buyer? And, maybe your initial gut reaction is like, that's crazy. No way. Like the technology's not there. The government maybe won't allow it, until it's up to a certain safety level. Like there's all kinds of reasons why you could just say, no way, that's insane. But what does that really do for you as a like understanding the world when you just say it's crazy? Not much, right? Like you don't really actually learn that much. So instead, like try to back into what would be your actual probabilistic expectation of that. So the first thing you do is say like, okay, here's a bet. For $10,000, would you say that self-driving will be on the road or not within 1 year? And would you take that bet? So I don't know. Let's play along with that. Like, what would you say? Is full self-driving going to be available within a year?
I need the payout structure, dog. And also, no,
it's 1 year from now, and you get $10,000.
Just binary. I get it or I don't get it.
You get it,
but
or
I
you
got to
don't
pay
get it.
something if I make this bet, presumably, right?
Yeah, you pay 10,000 if you don't.
Straight up and down.
Yeah, it's just straight up and down. What do you think? Do you take the bet? So that's the first one. Is like, is
It
it
all
over
depends on
50%,
definitions,
basically?
man. I know a guy that has a Tesla that drinks and he lets the Tesla drive him home. And it works.
I
so
know a guy.
I don't have the
pay for it.
Tesla.
Okay. All right. Let's just move on since you guys aren't
Well,
really...
I don't want to bet. I wouldn't take the bet. I don't think it's going to be on the market, but I do think you can pay for it and you can get it installed in your car, whether it works or not. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
No, this is
kind of
actually
like one of these Bill Clinton definition of is questions here.
Okay. All right, fine.
How long has it been coming? Just that.
Now, this is how I figured out I'm on a podcast with two lawyers. Is
what is the definition?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's reframe it then. And let's say that I could give you a box and it has 4 balls in it. And one of the balls is white. The other 3 are black. And if you pull the white ball, you get that $10,000 within 1 year. But if you pull one of the black balls, then you owe me $10,000, let's say. Or even let's get rid of it. Let's not say that you owe it, but you have to choose between full self-driving or the box. Which one of those would you prefer? Do you want to take a 1 in 4 pull on the box, or do you want to take full self-driving?
I'm just going to say that I think people would argue that full self-driving is already here. So I'm taking full self-driving.
Okay. Let me.
Yeah, that is hard to compare.
I understand what you're doing, and I like how you're going about this.
All right. Let's just keep going then. So that would imply then, let's say that you think, boy, I like the box better, right? Like I think I'd rather take the pull from the box than I would take the full self-driving, which then implies that you think that 25% is too high of a prediction. All right.
Because
now,
if you reframed it as like, do you think that there's a chance that it'll come out one of the years in the next 4?
No, that's not the bet. It's not a series bet. It's only this 1 year, take it or leave it.
I understand, but I'm just saying that, like, they're just trying to make it more analogous to the 1 in 4 pull out. Like if you said 1 out of 4 of the next, yeah, it doesn't quite work. All right, keep going. Ignore me.
Okay.
You have to say like out of the current parallel realities that are going on.
Yeah.
And one of the 4 of them does come about.
Yes. Okay. So now let's say then that you'd rather take the box at that point. Now we're going to change it. And the box, we put in several more balls and we're up to 16 balls now. And then there's one that is a winner in there. And now which one do you want to put? Do you want to take the box or do you want to take full self-driving as your bet? So what that implies then is that you're actually like a little bit below 6% confident that the full self-driving will happen. What we're doing here is revealing your preferences and what you believe based on giving you an A or a B. So most people probably would say like, wow, 1 out of 16, I look at that and I don't really like the odds of that. So, and they would say like, okay, I'll take the full self-driving bet instead. And then let's try to like finish it and dial it in. And let's say that there's 9 balls in there and wherever it can be whatever, but what you want to do is find the number of balls that are the exact equivalent where you're totally ambivalent between, do I want to take full self-driving or do I want to take the box full of balls? And that then it's called like an equivalent bet test. And so what we're looking for is that equivalent bet where you're just totally ambiguous between those 2 propositions, which then reveals to you what you think the probability is actually of that thing happening. So that's the whole point of the in this case, on a 9-ball box that you're ambivalent, that gives you like 11% sort of confidence interval that maybe the full self-driving would be on the road. So the book is full of stuff like that, where it's like, oh, here's kind of a cool way to get at what I'm trying to think through. And I find that equivalent ball test to be probably pretty helpful if you really want to just dial in, like, where are you on your probabilistic predictions, which is one of the hallmarks of good investors, is making probabilistic predictions.
I still don't know if I want to take the box of I still probably take the box of 1 in 16.
Wow. Okay. So we can go even more, like 1 in 50. I mean, how many balls do we have to put in the box before you're ambivalent between
the homie Samson's in the chat right now saying it's already here. Get long Tesla.
Yeah. Well, that was predictable.
Yeah. How does that is the problem, right? How does is it, are they calling it full self-driving at the moment?
Okay. Let me reframe.
He'll call it whatever the hell he wants. But
you don't need
the whole thing. Will you own a full self-driving car within a year?
Oh, no way.
Take that 160.
I'll take the balls.
Okay.
164 pull.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I'd be more likely to buy a tractor in the next year than I would a full self-driving car.
I think we'll have flying cars before we have full self-driving. We'll have full self-flying cars before we have full self-driving cars.
Really?
That's a much simpler problem to solve, right?
Is it?
No idea.
Don't you have a Z coordinate to deal with now?
Seems very
but you
difficult.
don't have as many obstacles.
Dude, I've seen the Jetsons. There's stuff all over the place. How are you supposed to?
But you'll have self-flying before you have all of those obstacles to negotiate.
Okay.
They'll be added later.
Fair enough.
This is an interesting take, one I haven't seen before.
There are flying cars, but they're not full self-flying cars. That's what I'm saying. Self-flying cars.
I mean, doesn't a jumbo jet, a 737 basically fly itself for the most of the, like 98% of the trip?
I think that it flies it for almost all of it. I think it's.
You could have a big ass drone. I guess I could see that.
Yeah, that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm in. Where do I sign up?
Where's the long bets? We need to get the long bets on. Let people take the other side to that. I like flying cars. Flying car, like, you're not going to run into anything for the most part. And if you do, then,
the earth.
It's over.
Yeah,
quickly.
that's right. So yeah.
Other than that.
All right, let's talk the markets.
Let's move on. Yeah, please.
I like those analogies. I like
We got a soundboard, everybody. It's a new unlock for value after hours.
No, I like it. I like that. If Toby and I didn't dissect the meaning of full self-driving, it could have been a great segment, but we ruined that for you.
Yeah, you really
I think it's a good mindset.
Pissed in the Cheerios.
You're welcome.
Scout versus I thought it was like scouts as in Boy Scouts, but yeah, scout versus soldier. I think it's a good analogy. I agree with it. Trains. Yeah, full self-driving trains.
You're smart and she's right.
Yeah, Greenwald never liked well, I shouldn't say never liked, but he was always like, railroads are going to be disrupted by full self-driving semis that go down the road and then break apart and then they deliver stuff
at $8 diesel.
Well,
Ooh, I don't know about that, homie.
I don't know.
Is that just a California special or is that everywhere?
Well, I think it's going on a lot of places right now.
What are the why do you take diesel over a regular gas car?
Diesel's got better gas mileage.
Does it? But it's more expensive. So
the engines are also quite a bit more reliable, unless I'm mistaken. But like those old diesels, they run forever.
Yeah. Mileage, torque.
Does every gas station have diesel?
No. Pain in the ass. But a lot do. The further south you get, the more that have it.
When I was a kid, you had to know not to put the diesel nozzle into the gas tank and vice versa.
Same now.
They're different shapes, but I always look, and now you got to make sure you're choosing you get 3 choices of gas, and none of them are diesel. Yeah,
it'll still mess your car up.
Do the three different classes of gas make a difference to the way the car operates? Does anybody know?
93 for sure does. That's no ethanol.
That's the best one. That's the most expensive.
I don't know that it's the best. I just know it has no ethanol in it.
Is it better for the car, or does it make it go faster or something?
Some cars require that you use 93, but I don't think it actually. I don't think there's any difference between 87 and 89. I think that's fake news.
It's like the difference between a sparkling white wine and a champagne.
My gas blending buddy, they make the 93, so he's always pushing that on me.
Motivated reasoning there.
Yeah, for sure. But he's got me convinced there is some difference between that and the rest of the stuff.
This is like the Simpsons thing where they show that in the brewery where it was like Duff Dry, Duff Light, Duff, regular, and it was all coming off of the same pipe.
Yeah.
Isn't that
Once upon a time,
more dog because the dog's a sweet, right?
Once upon a time, I was at a Christmas party, and my mom and her ex were really sloshed, and her friends are over, and one of the people couldn't take caffeine, and the guy, the ex, was going around, and he's like, "Caffeinated or decaf with one pot?" I don't know if it was decaf or caffeinated. I was a young kid, but I remember that. Oh, growing up, it was fun. Anyway, next.
We're in trouble if we don't have.
Did I make it weird?
Yeah,
we need to talk about. We need to talk about these markets. We need to talk about this crash.
The crash is coming. I feel like I was bearish. You could definitely listen last week and say that I'm bearish, but I remain pretty long. So it's not really. I'm not. Unless like you're in my head. Bearish? No, it's just like I just think about like to deploy more capital into the market, I would need to see like real pain. And I do think there's a scenario where we could get it. And I think that it's like a fairly realistic one. You asked about the balls. Like,
how many balls do we got to put in the hopper before
I think maybe 4.
Okay. 25% chance of rain.
Yeah, ish. Just a lot of cross currents right now. But, the one thing that I do think is going to be just like, for at least a year or two is going to help is there's so many houses that have been started and not completed that there's just a lot of jobs that are going to continue because you're going to need to complete the houses. But man, completing them's a pain in the ass right now for a number of reasons.
Getting the supplies, getting the people.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right here where I am right now. There's just no concrete. You can't get it.
Really?
Yeah. For a while, I guess there's some rock that makes it form or whatever and helps it go down the chute. I don't know. There's stuff, but that rock was out. And then it was like the sand that makes it like come like glue. That was out. Like my friends and I are like, you're telling me
the earth
there's
is
none
out of
this
sand?
Yeah, anywhere in Florida, we can't get the freaking sand. Okay. Just doesn't make sense.
The whole thing is sand.
Yeah, that's right. But apparently you need a different kind of sand.
Oh,
So there's
There are
just
a
like
lot of weird-
like
backlogs
90,
everywhere.
93
Shortages, right?
octane sand.
No, that's different. Different
Okay.
sand.
There are a lot of weird shortages still. I don't know how that gets resolved. I'm surprised it still hasn't been. I mean, we said that I guess the ships are still backed up out here until like mid 2023 was the last guess that I heard. Late 2023, which to me just sounds like we don't know. Hopefully by this time.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that the labor in the ports just started negotiations or something. So that's not going to get done.
What about the fact that
Everybody's-
China's got this zero COVID thing? Like that's not going to help either.
No, it's not. I had Craig Fuller on, and in the comments, I got notice today that somebody put up a YouTube comment on the episode, and they told me not to attack a country, and that China was being responsible, and that America was not. I have news for them; they're wrong.
It was a YouTube comment, like from YouTube, or it was from.
No, it was from a commenter, and they
Oh,
were
yeah,
like,
right.
"You guys are so irresponsible. You've lost 1 million people." I'm like, "Yo, y'all are messing with the entire world economy here." But anyway, demonetized.
Demonetized. There's a lot of fingers on the scales behind the scenes, I think.
Yeah.
What's the long-term plan? Are they going to like keep it locked down until they get to literally zero, or are they going to pop it open? And is the idea that just before the third People's Symposium or whatever they call it, they're going to open everything up and there's going to be this massive boom like we had over here?
This is legit turned into a Rogan episode.
Yeah.
Do you think so?
Well, I think it's two people that don't know anything opining on stuff that we don't know about. So yes, I
I'm
do
asking
think so.
all of my statements in the form of questions, though.
Yeah, well, that's like a Rogan episode.
That makes it a Rogan episode.
Yeah. I don't know what the goal is, man. I saw that they were opening up I think it was Shanghai or something. I don't know. COVID got into North Korea, I think. And if it got in there, I don't think you can dodge it. But that's just me.
Be interesting. Any thoughts on Restoration Hardware reporting here I think it's this week. I was looking at an unnamed home goods retailer, and God, I just don't know. Like one of my checklist items when I'm researching is, if I was made CEO there tomorrow, how hard is the gig? What's it look like? Am I excited or am I bummed? And if it's that bumming, like, then that might not be a great place to want to put your money, right? Like if that seems like a really hard job. And I was looking at this and like, I just don't know what levers they have to pull here. I mean, they're getting squeezed by labor and transportation costs. They bought back a bunch of shares at like 2x where the price is today. And now there's not that much cash around. The revolver's tapped a little bit. Like there's inventory swollen. I don't know where.
Oh, you talking about Restoration Hardware?
No, this is another company, but
Okay.
I thought
I was going to say.
Since you like Restoration and the reporting soon, I thought I'd like to hear what you think.
I would probably buy our house instead without really looking at the financials too closely. That's my gut. I don't like, if people talk about the ROIC. Okay, well, how does the ROIC get there? You trade ownership for leases. Okay, well, like that works when it works, but it seems like you're adding a little bit of fragility to the system. And
that's a one-time bite at the apple too, isn't it really? I mean,
well, it's kind of the business strategy, but I just think that like, I don't know. I was upset with myself for not holding that when it was bombed out. But I mean, zero was a legit possibility in my mind, even though it obviously wasn't. I was wrong. But you don't have stimulus and things could be a lot different. And I think that their consumer is probably going to be fine. So maybe it continues to work. I don't know. It's in my too hard pile. I'm sure it can work. I don't understand the jets and the yachts and the lifestyle brand and entering hotels. But like Gary is either a genius or a madman, and we'll all find out together. It's
What
just
would
it's a
you-
lot of
how many
it's a
balls
lot of
do we have to
issuing
put into
convertible.
the bag for you to feel good about that bet of genius versus madman?
I would ask to see to the end of time and then look back, and then I'll say I knew the answer.
Oh Jesus, cop out.
I don't know. I mean, three maybe,
Okay.
or
Panda-
like 4 out of 10. I think it's reasonably possible that he's a retail genius. I don't know if that translates into we can have a G550 or a G650 that can fly you to Paris to have caviar looking at the Eiffel Tower. Like, I just don't fundamentally trust that it's luxury. And I think that it's disrespectful to luxury to call it luxury. I think it's cheap furniture made at scale, marked up really high. And I think it's Starbucks. And I think they have a great, like,
Mastige.
yeah, that's what I think it is. And, you know, I went into the New York showroom and like the doors on some of the stuff are crooked and stuff. Like, don't tell me that you're Hermes and then come out with that shit.
Yeah.
It's just, it seems to me to be more like Wall Street puffery and investors buying a story than it does reality. But there is certainly enough reality to make that story, you know,
Look
go,
real
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
The art of
It's
it
just-
is to get the consumers to buy the story, right? Rather than the investors.
Well, dude, they obviously are, right? And you know, if I was a bull, I'd be like, well, look at how many more they're going to roll out and do the unit economics on the stores and all this stuff. Like, I get it, but I don't know.
I like the
state
idea.
stuff.
I think some of those ideas are really clever. I think the clubs are a really clever idea. The 650, I want to see how often the execs are traveling on that versus customers.
Well, you know, and they got the yacht, like the RH3. I think it looks kind of like a tugboat, but it's a yacht.
If it were, I mean, it's unconventional unless you're a scamster. It's unconventional to have yachts and 650s in the actually owned by the company, available to be used.
I mean, look, they're trying to make it like a lifestyle brand, right? Which I kind of understand, but then there's the part of me that's like, well, why? You know, if your furniture business is so good, why do you need to be a lifestyle brand too?
Is
See,
anyone buying a Restoration Hardware T-shirt to be part
No.
of a lifestyle?
No,
Soon enough. You
But I
just
see-
haven't seen it yet.
I
Okay.
see them as sort of maybe like J. Crew, where they might see themselves as, I don't know, Ralph Lauren or something like that.
Yeah.
I think Ralph Lauren's like the pinnacle of kind of mastige. It's like right on that. It might be true luxury. There's enough stuff in there that's luxury, whereas J. Crew is that just underneath. Is that fair? Don't know enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think what Gary would say is like
I
in
don't know.
Europe.
I wear Garanimals, so
I tell you what, I was looking at Carter's, you know, the baby
Yeah.
clothing maker. That's trading at like a 10 PE, which I know is a very flawed metric, but you know, you buy the story of millennials creating houses and household formation.
get
Carter's
babies up in there.
Yeah, I could see there being 10 years of earnings roughly around where we are. I think what Gary would say is like the legacy brand perception is part of the problem in the US. And when they're going to foreign markets, they're not going to have that perception. So like when they open up in London, they're going to be a fresh brand. I just don't know that I buy that Europe is going to like be super amped about an American furniture maker. Like, I don't know that Americans export luxury that often.
Yeah.
Ralph Lauren.
Yeah, he's been he was a G for sure.
I feel like it goes the other direction more, doesn't it? Luxury from Europe to America.
Yes. Yeah, that's kind of my, yeah.
That quality brand Mittelstand.
Like, I don't know where Williams Sonoma trades, but if they trade roughly where Restoration Hardware does, I'd probably prefer Williams Sonoma.
It was cheap and it popped on its last earnings. Had a good
Yeah.
run the day and the night. I own Williams Sonoma. I quite like Williams Sonoma.
Yeah.
I think Restoration Hardware was sort of getting into my hitting zone too. I don't own it, but I just sort of noticed it was floating around there. Probably
It's
needs
very
to
high
go-
ROIC.
Needs to stumble in this next earnings probably for me to have a look at it.
That could happen.
I think in this market, like that's the
Soft
one of the-
consumer. That'd be I don't know. Could get rough for them.
one of the things I like about these kind of markets, if we get a little sell off here, is that it does give you that opportunity to buy better quality stuff when it all gets squashed up with the deep value stuff. I think we're going to get our chance this time around. I mean, I hope we get our chance this time around. I don't have any view one way or the other. I hope.
The downside, man, is rates may have peaked, and if they peaked, everything goes burr.
But here's the thing. So let's do some macro bullshitting. So you've still got inflation's running at 8%. Interest rates are well south of that. And then I saw that it's a political conundrum for the Fed whether they step on the inflation or whether they step on the stock market. Well, they stepping on inflation, steps on the stock market. And then Biden's going in to complain to them about inflation. So maybe that's the way it goes. They have to step on the inflation.
I don't think Biden's actually complaining about inflation behind closed doors. I think you'd have to be crazy to be doing that.
What do you think?
I
he's
just got to
saying?
be seen to be doing it. We're having a meeting about inflation.
Look, I think if you're complaining to the Fed about inflation, what you're saying is that I want rates to go materially higher. And if that scenario to me screams recession. So I would say let's let inflation run hot for 2 to 3 years and see where we are.
Yeah, there's enough. It's
as a politician.
I feel like this still all assigns way more power than the Fed actually has to this whole thing.
But I think that they've already committed. They've created the conditions that have created the inflation. I think that they have the power to do that. I think that now whether we're talking about whether they crash the stock market or the other things that they can do, we're talking about problems that they've created over the last 5 years. And so like how they navigate their way out. Like
you mispronounced 100 years.
Well, that's true. That's true. It has been.
Well, a lot of it was stimulus though, too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. I think the stimmy created that. All those charts that have got those wild sort of runs up and runs back down. And I think we're probably getting close to back being down near trend for a lot of those things. So it'd be interesting, like whether we stop at trend or not, I don't know.
I think it's kind of funny when people are like, well, tech valuations are lower than they've been. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's not like 2018 and 2019 was like screamingly cheap valuations, right? I think you make the argument that there's a lot of stuff out there that is fair or cheap right now. But like to say, well, when things were growing like crazy and people promised flowers at the end of the road, and now people are questioning whether or not those flowers exist, like no wonder the valuation has come in. That's kind of part of what valuation represents, right?
I think it's a little bit cheap, but I agree with you. It's not, I don't see a lot of obvious value there. I don't think there's any easy decisions there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, this is stuff that I don't own and don't really know, but
That's
like,
what the
I bet
podcast
like,
is for, sir.
yeah, I mean, I bet like Texas Instruments is something you could get a reasonable real return out of here. I think it's like, people are like, how does Coke trade where it trades? Well, if you're really worried about inflation, it makes sense to hold something like that.
What's the Coke thesis for inflation?
Well, I just think historically they've been able to show pricing power, and God forbid, you actually think inflation's transitory. The probability that they're going to give back the price takes, like there's no way. So if their input costs come down, you could see some margin expansion on the back end of this that maybe surprises people that they're not looking at today.
Did the same thing happen to Coke that happened to the macro beer brands? Like it's just so much easier to get micro, off-brand colas and different kind of waters and things like that. Whereas previously it was like you had to have all the shelf space and all the advertising. And now people don't care because you're getting a different kind of access to different stuff through Instagram. Instagram pitches me, non-alcoholic everything these days.
Yeah.
Non-alcoholic beer.
I got, speaking of which, a mocktail for you guys. Get yourself some Topo Chico, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, just like a cap or two full. Pour that in, squeeze some lemon, boom.
What is it?
It's delicious non-alcoholic beverage.
What do you call it?
I don't know. I'm just telling you what it is. No. It's not. My boy Adam Brown told me about
Busy
it.
Brewster.
No, it's not me. But I've been drinking the shit out of them. It's great. But like Topo Chico, I'm almost certain is owned by Coke now.
They bought it for a couple $100 million, like I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. I thought it was a genius move.
Very effervescent.
LaCroix's still out there. It does have the big bubbles.
Yeah, it's like
LaCroix out there independent. I
yeah.
like LaCroix and some LaCroix.
I haven't read that guy's letter in a minute. I need to read that guy's letter.
Do they
I
write
bet
good
he's
letters?
fucking devastated with Democrats in the White House and inflation out of control. I bet that guy's letters are insane.
Is he political?
Oh yeah.
LaCroix?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I haven't read them.
Yeah, you got to. It's great.
Is he like full like InfoWars type of stuff, or where's he at?
I mean, I don't think it's InfoWarsy. I just, pick up some letters and read them.
That's frightening.
No, it's just, it's just like very pro America, but I think he
That's good.
definitely, we'll see. That's my hypothesis.
I'll give it to LaCroix. They got good, when you go into supermarkets now, they're not hard to find. They're always right at the front and stacked. They're everywhere, easy to get, and they're everywhere.
I love that
good
business.
price point for the most part.
Release a new flavor, just change the color of the can. No
Yeah,
marketing.
That's right.
It's insane.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta
They all
try this
taste the
one.
same.
Pomegranate blueberry. All right. Well, shit. I guess I better try that one.
Yeah, I'm a pamplemousse dude.
Are you?
Yeah, pamplemousse is
Yeah.
all there is.
But sometimes you'll open a can and it'll be like super pungent and the taste will be off. Their quality.
That's because the natural flavors are like random stuff. Like there's vanilla. I think there's a natural flavor that's vanilla. It's the beaver anal gland expression.
Oh,
Like they
well,
really
yeah,
I hope that
milk,
beaver was happy
they
that
will
day
milk
when it
a
was
beaver's
expressing its
ass
anal
for
gland.
vanilla natural flavoring.
This one tastes sour. This anal gland must have been real tight.
He was
Anyway.
Yeah, he must have been eating something that wasn't.
Is that true? Is that how they get vanilla? Because I thought they could just get it from vanilla beans, right? No, too expensive that
way
way.
cheaper to go after
Cheaper
beaver
than milk
ass.
a beaver.
Nothing like a little beaver ass to drive your margins up.
Yeah.
Well, I tried I tried their passion fruit one over the weekend. It did taste like beaver ass.
Was it beaver ass?
and how, sir, do you know about the taste of beaver ass?
Well, it
Straight
tastes
beaver
like the vanilla one.
We have fully derailed.
To be fair, I own Fizz, so this is all
Talking your book.
talking the book.
Okay, good.
That's fair. I'm looking for
You
squirrel
got-
ass myself.
Mm.
That's where the real margin is.
Gregory doesn't think it's funny. Okay, thanks, Gregory.
Sorry, dude.
Doesn't think beaver ass is funny. Okay.
I mean,
you're-
we enjoyed it.
You
I
are
can't-
you're just objectively wrong, sir. I'm sorry. Because this is hilarious.
Well, then.
Yeah, it's been.
I'll tell you what came out was kind of interesting. Well, interesting to me. Some people may not have known about it, but
Top Gun.
well, I want to see that bad. But dude, I featured on the pod Nawful Snala, worked
Yeah,
for a
what's
firm called
happening there?
EIA.
Yeah,
And EIA is been accused of being a straight up Ponzi scheme. And I had a call with them because I was going to feature Andrew if I could get comfortable with it. And I remember after the call, I hung up and Nawful called me after and he's like, what are your thoughts? And I was like, dude, I don't know what you guys do. Like, I can't articulate what you do here. And then we never followed up. But I think that was an interesting example of, if something is too hard or outside your circle, maybe just say no. I would have felt like a real dummy if I had featured both of them.
Well, I remember that episode, and I remember thinking, like, gosh, I don't feel like I know what's going on here, but I'm not really a macro guy, so I guess that's to be expected. But it felt like it was either next level or that I was, well, I don't know. I didn't feel like it felt phony to me, but
No, and that's I think the thing that surprised a fair amount of people was like, I don't know, a lot of people that I well, not a lot, but a decent amount of people that I respect respected his opinions on things. But that's kind of get that plus likability. And that's kind of how, the seeds of fraud could be made. I don't know. We'll see.
It never
what all
starts
ends
out
up.
intentionally either. I mean, you always read these and they're like, start cheating a little bit in one way.
Yeah,
And then
so
it just
dude,
sort of spirals.
I'll tell you what, I was kind of defending him out of the gate, and I'm not trying to throw him under the bus. And I'm a big time believer in the presumption of innocence. But if you read the complaint, they were losing, according to the SEC, they've been losing since day one. And that kind of hurt, because I was kind of hoping, to your point, that maybe things were okay and then something slipped and maybe they tried to make it up. But the complaint doesn't look good.
I thought it also said that they'd claimed 100 million in assets and they had like 580,000.
I think they claimed 190 million or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, made up everything. I looked at the tear sheet and it looked legit. But that's what, I guess Bernie Madoff looked legit for a while too. So wild.
Is that the claim, that it was a Ponzi scheme?
Yeah, that is exactly the claim.
Well, now we've got Luna 2.0 out there as well. Like the first one I just saw this morning. I don't know why I even saw it, but that's back out. Now it's like, hey, if you liked it the first time around that it went to zero, here's your chance to
be fair,
miss out.
Is 2.0 is not a scam anymore. Like everybody knows.
Now it's the real one.
Yeah. Well, it's just, if you get scammed on 2.0 and 1.0 was a scam. I don't know if you got scammed or if you're just kind of dumb.
I'm waiting for 3.0.
But I'll tell you what, like and I'm not trying to throw her under the bus because I really love her, but like my mom is the type of person that falls for some of these emails and stuff. So I get like really upset when I see some of this stuff, right? Because she's like, you give her like macro bear porn and then hit her with some like, and this guy predicted this and is shilling this.
Yeah.
The amount of times I just have to be like, turn all that off. It's like crazy.
Well, that's the thing that's terrible about these. It hits the people who can generally least afford to take the hit.
Yeah. No doubt. But, those guys at EIA, I think they had some institutional stuff. So,
not much. It said $580,000 in assets.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess. I don't know. It's a shame. I saw somebody's DMs and the guy was like, I was friends with these guys and, I don't know. It's a shame. Anyway, long story short.
Won't be the last one. That's the other thing. I mean, these are the times where those things get uncovered.
Well, and I think this stuff goes on in companies too, right? If you don't know how a company makes money, just say no. There will be another pitch. And that doesn't mean it's a fraud, right? It just means like it doesn't have to be the thing that you vouch for or bet on or any of that stuff, right? Just move on. Now, sorry.
I was just going to say that it feels like there've been quite a few, embezzlements or frauds sort of revealed through this period. I still don't think we haven't had the flush yet. There's been no Lehman moment yet.
Well, Chanos has been saying this for a while, right? He's been like, this is the golden age of fraud.
Yeah. But we haven't had anything really collapse yet that was sort of that nobody saw coming.
Yet.
Luna, I guess, but then Luna, it's still kind of
that's fringe.
Yeah, it's fringe. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not front and center that everybody's in.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see, man. Part of what I was saying last week about how much downside I think there could be. I don't think there's that much in like on average an industrial company. I am really curious to see where some of these tech valuations settle and where we look back and which ones are real. I think it's funny that everybody's like, oh no, now is the time to create a real business. Like you got to generate cash. It's like, I don't know. See a deck and you're like, you were chasing revenue. Now you have to generate cash. It's like, it used to be that the whole purpose of a business was to generate cash, but for a while there it was just to generate shares.
Yeah, but I guess the point was that they're saying that there's only one winner in some of these verticals. So you get there and you win and then you charge whatever you want. I guess, I don't know. I guess they're pointing to Amazon as an example of that. You can,
Yeah.
You mean that one in, 500,000 business?
But would you say that that was Amazon? Like Amazon, I sort of thought that the reason that it was run the way that it was run was that, Bezos knows what he's doing. He's trying to run it as a high growth business, whereas he wasn't necessarily trying to dominate the entire niche. I mean, obviously he was, but that wasn't the whole strategy wasn't predicated on being the biggest or the first, was it?
Well, I think with Bezos, I don't think you ever had to tell him generate cash, right? From day one, the cash flow statement was up front. Like that dude understood working capital usage. He understood cash. Now, his method of attack was maybe new and something that people haven't seen before, but he was not one of these like burn a ton of cash and issue a ton of shares and call that cash flow.
I think it's been funny how quickly those, so Fast, which was run by a guy from Brisbane, which is where I'm from in Australia, that fell over. They raised $100 million and then they collapsed a year later. And that was one of that one-click checkout things. And then there's the other one, Bolt, the guy he's another unusual dude, like multi-billionaire on paper, and made all the employees take out recourse loans to take their options up, and now they're all underwater and getting waxed. And so that was
that to employees.
Well, at the
I don't
time,
think made them. I think I'll let them if they wanted to.
Yeah,
that's
didn't make them. Sorry, I shouldn't say made them, but made it available to them, which they then used. And now they're underwater on them. I think that that's the case. I don't want to say it too cavalierly, but I understand that that's the case. So I understood that whole one-click kind of idea. Lots of bigger enterprises have tried it and just given up because they can't make any money out. So I don't know what maybe these other guys were going to solve that problem, but it doesn't seem so.
Well, I think you end up, you rebase the people you want to keep. You let the rest that didn't get rebased figure out that you don't want them, make them leave. Be kind of interesting to see where people put their options.
That's good for culture.
Yeah, well, stock market crashes aren't. I don't think. So, I'm very excited. It's going to be an interesting 3 years. Can't wait to see the proxy statements that come out. It's all going to be very interesting.
I don't think it's going to take 3 years. I think this is all going to be over pretty quickly. I think we're going to go into I think if it gets nasty, it gets nasty soon and fast. But if it doesn't, then we're just back through to muddle through.
Yeah. Well, rates down, stocks go up. All this is a moot point.
How many zombie companies are there to kind of take out a cull out of the herd here?
I think a fair amount, but I actually think this is the time that we're going to do it, which will be nice. Yeah. Yeah. I think that'll be good.
There were a few. I saw it mentioned in the comments before, but Evergrande seemed to be a thing, and then that's just no longer an issue, or it's not in the news anymore.
China problem. We've got our own problems to focus on now here.
Well and truly. I don't know. I still think there's still that big sugar rush coming through the system. It's hard when you're looking at companies right now. Like there are things out there that look cheap that they're either beneficiary of COVID or they're just a beneficiary of all the stimulus that got paid through. And so it's hard to take that out of the financial statements because I don't know whether these are permanent winners or whether they're
how do you
short-term
normalize
winners.
or comp anything right now?
It's very hard.
Really hard.
Yeah, it is.
Just going to make mistakes, I think, is the answer.
All of which would say that if it's that hard to normalize and comp, that you should probably demand a little bit margin of safety in the price that you pay, right?
Yeah.
And yet, maybe hasn't quite moved as much as you could argue it should relative to how hard it is.
To play devil's advocate, though, like I think the argument that, and we've talked about it before, but the big tech companies probably, I guess that there's also an advertising component to them, but they don't look to me to be egregious. I mean, I think you could just about buy half of them. I mean, I think you could buy Facebook. I think you could buy Google. I think you could buy Netflix. I don't know about Microsoft. I haven't looked at it, but Amazon's probably getting there as well. They're probably all getting close, and that's a big chunk of the market.
Somebody's screaming. Netflix is a big media company, not a tech company. Toby, didn't you get the memo?
I mean,
I'm letting you know that we hear you.
that's a fair. That's actually, I think that's a fair enough point to make, that all of those companies, like, they're all thrown under tech at the moment, and they're vastly.
And they're sort
different
of all
companies.
media. Well, Google, Facebook, and
Well, Microsoft's
Netflix
not.
all
Microsoft,
have that. Yeah,
I
they
don't
got
know
gaming. It's
what
not
does
nothing in
Microsoft
that
leverage to
business.
That's true. What's Microsoft really leverage to? Is it the business side? I mean, are people going to get rid of their Excel licenses when the market
No,
dips?
I think Microsoft is arguably my favorite business, mostly because I think they're just well, that too. But I mean, I just like how many enterprises can you really tear Microsoft out of? I think they're pretty ingrained in a lot of people's workflows.
And I
Very
think
short Apple.
Microsoft is really good at selling to corporate America.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's not to be underestimated.
I'll tell you what's a monster in Microsoft is LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Why? I have no idea. But it is a beast. Don't make no sense.
Burry is short Apple.
Who is?
Mike Burry.
Oh. Got to be an easier short out there than Apple.
Yeah, I don't know if that's the one I'd be shorting.
I mean, I'd like, fine. I get it. It's smart, fine.
To
but
hedge
like,
the rest of your book.
yeah, I don't know. It just seems like there's got, I mean,
Got to be cheaper and easier to just like
I think
short the S&P 500.
Yeah,
than to try to.
Yeah.
right, or like something. I mean,
What if
I
he's
don't
really
know.
long Berkshire and then that's a little like stub
Just
thing,
hedging out the Apple.
maybe.
yeah,
That might make some sense.
that would
know if
make
I'd
a
be
little bit
short
of
Apple.
sense to me. I could dig that, but just like straight up saying this is the company to short seems like that one's tough for me.
Yeah.
When I look at the big tech names, or the big names in the index, then that's the one thing that sort of makes me go, makes me think that
no.
Ah, ah.
almost gave it away.
Peek behind the curtain. Back
Almost
to the
makes me.
telescope.
Yeah, the telescope's still back there. Makes me think that maybe the index isn't that expensive. I don't know. It's just when I look at every other long run indicator of the index says the index is really expensive, until I drill down into those top 5 or 6 or 10 names, then I don't think it's too bad. But then the problem with doing
this is the story of history, though. It's like it's always been businesses that were working really well,
that's
that
true.
were indomitable, that were.
To be fair though, like there has been like Exxon stretched at the top, whereas these are better businesses than Exxon.
Yeah, I mean, my bias is to say the index does fine. I think it's the internals of the NASDAQ that could cause some
Does that
havoc.
mean it's a stock picker's market?
I don't know. I've been saying it forever, and the index been kicking my ass. So it's probably just an indexer's market is probably the answer. It wins again. But I don't know. It's probably an ETF out there that people could find that's better than the index. I have no idea where they would find such a thing.
I think that those things exist. I just don't know that it's mattered that much. Like the Mike Green flows thing seems to have been. I mean, I don't personally agree with Mike's thesis, but I do think that it is explaining what is occurring. I know that doesn't make any sense, but I do think it's going to be right until everybody decides no longer to flood the SPY, to smash the bid on the SPY.
Flows before bros.
Flows before bros, yeah.
Well, his thesis gets interesting when people stop flooding the SPY. That's when you want to have cash. If you believe that stocks are actually fractional ownerships in businesses.
But even while that's ongoing, right?
To bed.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's all just a rates trade. I get that, but
while there's a flow, while the flows are to the index, it's still things that are making lots of money that aren't in the index. Like you don't have to be buying them because the stock price goes up. You can buy them for the underlying business qualities that they have. That's still allowed.
That is an interesting concept. One that we should double click in next week.
We should get into that. Hey, we made it, fellas.
Oof. Drop something, Phil.
Slid it over the line.
Oh, wait. Nope. I don't know what we're looking for. There we go.
Hey, there it is. We got some work to do on our
I'll have to label
soundboard.
these. Yeah, my bad.
We did it. Thanks, amigos. We'll see you next week.